bringing you truth. I'm Ast Neferka Heteru, aka Nef, and welcome if you are joining us live. Welcome. If you are catching the replay, happy new moon. As we've just entered into a new moon cycle officially for me here today. For some of you, it might have been yesterday, December 3rd. And the intention of this video is I'm going to be sharing the first 3 cards of a Merkut reading, which is a pyramid reading, and it's an oracle divination deck reading. So I'm actually going to show you what the cards look like in its entire cipher. It's a 10-card reading. For those who are members of Tehuti Ma'at, the full reading will be provided during the full moon in Tehuti or Gemini that is going to be in 2 strongs or 2 weeks. So pretty much what we're going to cover today is the top portion of the reading. So I'm going to share that with you right now and just elaborate on the energies and just the things that are coming up as we've just transitioned through eclipse season, and I'm sure we have all had plenty of opportunities for growth, a lot of things underneath coming to the surface to be transformed, transmuted, and alchemized. So I'm really looking forward to this new moon and the energy that lies ahead, because we are entering into a new chapter in our lives. So I'm going to go ahead and show you what the actual reading is. All right. So this is the full reading that you can see here. And we're going to cover this top portion of the reading. But just to give you a sense of what this reading actually represents, because the Merkut reading is one of the readings that I will be doing. Let me actually get the headphones on. Okay. So the Merkut reading is one of the readings that I do via Coins and Cowries. So if you're interested in a reading, you can go to coinsandcowries.com and have a personal reading. This is a very elaborate reading. It begins here with your fire energy, which is the guiding point, or Sirius, Sabu Septa, the sun of our sun. This is the guidance of the reading. It is the fire energy. We go into the air energy, which is the second tier here. And this represents the magical mental body, the Ba. And then we go into the water realm, which is this third tier. And the water realm is pretty much the emotional, spiritual reality. And then at the base, we have Geb, the earth. This is the material dimension of the reading. So the way the reading flows down is you have your fire, your guiding principle. This card at the top, this energy is informing the entire reading, and this energy is actually Geb. Geb is in the house of Ta. Each card also has a element that it's associated with, or a house. The house of Ta is the house of the earth, or the house of Geb. And Geb is literally the planet, the earth. It is the material reality, it is the bodily reality, and it is the guiding principle for this entire reading, for this new moon that we're entering into. So this new moon is going to be from today or yesterday for some of you up until January 2nd, when we begin a new moon cycle. So the second level here is going from this earth energy, right, as the guiding principle, right, this connection to the earth. But it's also a card that is about loyalty. So when we're dealing with Geb, we're dealing with the masculine energy that represents the earth. So I'm actually gonna go ahead and flip this back, because I think it's actually easier for me to do it this way, so I can just have this standing there. I'll just grab the card, so that's easier. So Geb. So the thing about Geb is it's very important to think of Geb, or the earth, the planet, nature in the context of our ancient cosmic ancestral perspective. So, this is the perspective of our ancestors. This is our perspective, our story, our cosmology from ancient Kemet. All right, the Black Land that some people call ancient Egypt. This represents the masculine aspect of the earth. The reason why I emphasize this and this is so important is because this is actually, sorry, notifications. The reason why this is important is because this is actually in contradiction to the standard that is moved upon us of what the earth is, where we always talk about Mother Nature, Mother Earth, right? And we're not really thinking about the masculine aspect of the earth energy. That's something that's very important for us to think about because the divine masculine energy is an active principle. And it's important for us to think about the divine feminine nature as the cosmos and the cosmic womb, right? So if we think of that as space, then the earth, Geb, is in space. Everything is wombed in the feminine, but we do have to put the masculine in its proper place and not have these inversions or things that are constantly flipped upside down in order to keep us spiritually enslaved. That's very important to think about as we're putting ourselves in right relationship with nature, with the earth, which means with our bodies. So when this energy that this moon cycle is about is really about loyalty. And we really have to think about what that means for us, right? Being loyal to yourself is trusting yourself. That is one of the main energies that has come forward with this eclipse season, right? All of the challenges and all of the opportunities we've had to grow are for us to strengthen our self trust and our knowledge of ourselves, right? Because we're here for mastery of our spiritual nature as we experience the earth. We are all here for a purpose. And depending on our path and how we align with our purpose depends on what exactly that mandate looks like and how we move forward with it. But for us all, it's a journey for the soul. We really are just here to cultivate and grow our spirits. So, within the context of the totality of this experience, this moon cycle that we're in right now is very much about us carrying that energy and that trust and that communication, that divine communication that has been coming through with this eclipse season, as we've highlighted the ways that we need to shed and expand and grow. We are now in a space where we have to activate that and show that loyalty, not only loyalty to ourselves, right? Because we are Geb, we are the earth, our flesh, our bodily experience as part of the spiritual totality that we're in is very much an earthly experience. So the body and being loyal to our material vessel, our nature here in the earth is very important in our relationship to earth. So it also represents our plans coming into materialization, right? Because it's all about the material reality. And as we go into the next level of the reading, which I shared with you, is the magical mental body. So we're talking about the mind state. The reason why I think it's important to share the first three cards of the reading is because this is where everything begins. It begins in the mind, and the thoughts create reality. That vibrational frequency that's coming through our thought space and the energy that penetrates in the thoughts begin to trickle down into our material reality and what we actually see and experience, right? So when the reading is done, it's more of an ancient tool to just utilize to activate our perception of the energies that we're all feeling. So it is important to note when I do readings, especially if it's a personal reading, the strongest aspect of accuracy and certainty in the energy is the intuition. So it's really about what comes up for you? What is nature saying to you through these particular forces? So, with the guiding principle being Geb or the earth, what is that nature? What is the earth? What is your body saying to you, and how does that take form in your own life? So this is a general reading. So I did this reading at the top of the moon, right? As soon as we went into our solar eclipse within fire ritual. And the intention of the reading has been just to, I keep having these little nip slips, like, I gotta keep this under control. Um, the intention of the reading was just to take up the general energy of this moon cycle that we're in and that we're moving through. So we're going to move through this. We're then in the inception. So we're in the continuum of carrying the energy that came through eclipse season into this moon cycle that's going to be very inspiring and activating and expansive. And then we're going to continue out. So it's going to climax and then it's going to shift us into the next cycle. So this reading is specifically just for this moon cycle. Just wanted to reiterate that. Now, the things that are on the left side of the reading are the things that are coming in. It's the energy that's still with us, that's continuing from the previous cycle. And this card was also in the reading that I did for the last new moon cycle. So this card, Me'ert, is representative of the calf, right? So the cow was a sacred symbol for our ancestors. And now we're going into a sacred feminine symbol. And one of the things that you can think about that's pretty transparent when it comes to the cow and just this energy, it's associated with magnetism. It's associated with attraction. It's associated with that feminine beauty and the essence of sensuality that we think of when we think of femininity. And this is why this is one of the most predominant symbols that was used to represent the divine feminine energy. Now you can think of the cow and the milk and the lactation and just the nourishment, the motherly energy that is represented by the cow. It's also one that takes up space, which is really what this card is about. So let me bring it a little closer. So it's really talking about on the magical mental end, right? Our minds should have expanded at this point, right? We're constantly in cycles. And for many of us, depending on our choices, right? Because we are moving within free will, which is why I said should have, but really there's never a should. Things are always as they should be. But the opportunity has been presented for things to expand. But we still make choices, and some of us may close ourselves off to that expansion. Now, that energy is still there. It's still pretty much lingering, just the infinite possibilities that are present for us right now. And this is what Earth represents. It's an energy of creation, of expansion, of just really taking up space, right? And all the possibilities, right? It's been a time for sowing seeds, right? Obviously, we're in a new moon cycle. New moons are generally associated with sowing seeds, sowing intentions, coming up with new ideas. But really, this eclipse season has really aligned with us astrologically in a way where everything is very fertile, right? We're in this Neath energy. Neath is Sagittarius, and it's a connective energy. It's an expansive energy. It's ruled by that Ptah energy, what we consider Jupiter, right? That very expansive energy. So just think big, right? It's just like infinite possibilities, big ideas. Anything can happen. And that's kind of where we've been opened up to mentally in order to sow the seeds. So it's really important right now to be very careful of what we sow, right? What it is that we want and what it is that we envision, because the universe is very fertile right now. We're dealing with fertile energy. So anything we sow is going to take root. So we want to be clear and we want to take care to be still and really be clear on what it is that we want. And really think about those details, because Mercury is also in its detriment. Mercury being the energy of um, communication, of knowledge, of expression, right? It's furthest away from Tehuti or Gemini when it's in Neath, Sagittarius. So it becomes an energy that may be focused on the big picture and not necessarily the details. And sometimes that's important, especially right now when we're in an energy where it's infinite potential and anything can happen, and anything that we sow, we will reap. It's an energy that we want to specifically be clear on slowing ourselves down enough to think about the details. But it may be good not to think about the details, because sometimes we get caught up on the details and we refine things too much, if that makes sense. Like sometimes you could think about like something you ask for, something that you really think you want, but then it always comes and it's like better than you could have ever imagined. But if you thought out all those details and you kept it and limited it based off of what you thought you wanted, when you didn't even realize all these infinite possibilities, then you close yourself off, right? So it's very important right now to honor that energy and know that it's significant. But if you're going to think about details, you want to be very careful, because you're sowing seeds that are going to grow, right? So we don't want to limit ourselves, because we want to take advantage. We want to align with the energy that is currently available to us, which is infinite possibilities. Anything can happen. So the less details that you have and the more trust and loyalty you have in nature, in the divine, in what's best for our ecosystem and the collective, and knowing that that's going to be what's best for you, then the best thing is going to align for you. And it's not about you, right? So it kind of puts the ego in its proper position as well. All right. So the third card in the reading, which is still in this earthly position, I'm going to flip it back upright just so you can see what it's looking like. But it was actually upside down. So it's really presenting the energy in its opposite form, is really what the message is. Now, this card is Kekut. The number is 6. The number of the last card was 3, right? That creative energy. That's what 3 represents, the Trinity, when you have the two come together and expand and create. The 6 represents more of that nurturing energy, that loving energy, right? That compassion, that motherly energy. And it's in the house of Tepiaum. And this is the primordial house, the primordial energy. So we're talking about the energies that existed before existence, right? And Kekut, in its upright position, you can see is symbolized with the mask of a serpent, right? Or a cobra, a snake, and it has the sun disk, Ra, overhead. And a lot of us, I'm going to elaborate on this a little bit, mainly because a lot of people have negative associations with serpents because of religious, especially Christianity, with the serpent being associated with Satan. And it's very important as we're going into our cosmic story, right? Our original Afrakan cosmology, that we realize and understand the spiritual warfare that we're in, and the fact that many religions have been created in order to stifle our progress. But it's all still in divine alignment in the context of anything that is presented as a challenge becomes a strengthening. But it is very important for us to be aware that when we're dealing with warfare, we have to, there's a degree of militancy and a degree of, just that cutthroatness that you really need, like, because those negative associations with the serpent are really coming from like a rudimentary understanding of sacred energy, of natural energy. And the reason why I say that is because we had many different associations. You did have an ancient serpent known as Apep, which was really considered to be like that parasitic serpent. Like when you think about like a parasite, and like how it's pretty much has that serpent, like kind of like a worm. So there's still that, but we have so many layers of our story, right? Even when it comes to the serpent energy, right? You have Kekut, but you also have Wajet, the cobra, which represents the divine feminine principle. When we think about the serpent, we're also dealing with, like I said, primordial energy. So these are energies and creatures whose nature being symbolized because of what they represent. And when they came into being, these serpents, you have the first creatures that were coming from the primordial waters of Nu and adapting to Geb, right? The earth, the terrestrial nature that was coming through the waters. And there's a versatility and an intuitive nature to these creatures, especially in the context of their ability to move. So a serpent, a snake can go front, back, side, up, and down. And also thinking about the reality of it not having any legs and it just that one motion, and just what does this all symbolize. So it's really important to think about the energy in that context. These are not literal things, these are not gods and goddesses in the ways that people depict. You have a lot of distinctions when it comes to the Neteru. You have certain Neteru, which is what they misinterpret as gods and goddesses, right? These are primordial, excuse me, not all of them are primordial. This one in particular is. But these are natural forces, right? They're forces of nature. It's important not to deitize them because that's where the liberation begins, right? Because the spiritual psychosis, the spiritual enslavement, and the spiritual warfare is an attack on our divinity. So anything that wants you to look outside of yourself for the divine, look outside of yourself for anything, removes you from your throne of power, right? Because you have authority and sovereignty within yourself. So if you begin to look outside yourself for certainty, for confirmation, for a God or any idea of, universe, it could be anything, source, even when people are using these languages, even the new age, it's still part of that spiritual psychosis and that spiritual attack to disconnect us from our true nature, which is why, going back to the first card in the reading, you had Geb telling you, like, are you loyal? Are you really thankful? Do you really care? Prove it. Prove it. Show me. Show your loyalty. Show your loyalty to yourself by trusting yourself. Show your loyalty to your body by taking care of yourself, by disciplining yourself to nourish yourself well, to remove the influences that you need to remove from your life, right? By taking your own life seriously. That's how we show loyalty. Are you loyal to Geb? Are you loyal to the earth? Are you loyal to nature? What can you do to strengthen your relationship with the ecosystem, to be more accountable for your choices and how you are contributing to its destruction? How do you now align yourself to the restoration of the planet? Okay. And like I said, this is the guiding principle for the entire reading. So when you even deal with this magical mental, right, this air energy, you still have to take it in the context of the guiding principle of the reading, which is Geb. So as I was saying, coming back into Kekut, it was actually upside down. And the thing I found very interesting about that is because the number 6 turns into 9 quick, and 9 is the number of completion. All right. And remember, this is the energy that's going to wind us into the next cycle. So it's something that's going to be coming in during this moon cycle. So throughout this month of December, there's going to be a lot of potent energies. When we think about it astrologically, there's going to be a lot of different energies moving through, and they're very big, but like, like I was saying, that expansive energy, right? So depending on where we are in our journey, right? Because we're all in different spaces and places, we're all still growing, right? That's why we're here. We're here to grow. So it's important for you to identify for yourself and be conscious of where is that growth happening in your life. So if for you, that means looking into astrology, or if for you, that means journaling, if for you, that means slowing or fasting, then that's what you need to do. Okay? To be clear and conscious of what it is that you're aligning with. Now, this energy, when it's upright, represents obscurity. And because it's upside down, it's saying this is not about obscurity. This is about coming forward. This is about being full. This is about being present, right? We're in this big energy. We've just learned all these lessons, all these things about us coming to the surface, right? All these things that maybe we have kept in the shadows, all this energy that we may not have wanted to see about ourselves, right? Just really looking at ourselves in the mirror and learning those lessons. So if you're still in that space, right, because we're still in this solar eclipse energy, if you're still in that space, then that's really where you need to focus your examination right now, where we are currently. Remember, this reading is for the entire cycle that we're moving through now. So this is like a projection ahead of the energies to come. The way that that looks for each of us is going to be different, and our choices are going to be different. But if you're listening to the message, then the certainty must be there that you knew, right? You know that this is something that you were going to align with. So overstanding the energy or knowing the energy means you navigate the energy with a different degree of consciousness than you would have if you had not. So this energy is very much about, that light and that hope that has come forward, right? I want to share about the solar eclipse really briefly, just because from our ancestral perspective, it is very important for us to know what it represents. In our ancestral cosmology, when we're dealing with eclipse season, we're dealing with the period where Ra, the sun, is going into shadow, right? All of the mythologies that we came up with ancestrally, they're all expressions of natural events, celestial events, occurrences, energies, and just an artistic depiction of what that energy is, what it feels like, what it looks like. And the reason why I'm sharing this is because when you have an eclipse where you have that that shadowing happening of Ra, it's seen as that battle between Ra and Apep, that parasitic energy that we consider to be like evil, wickedness, all of these chaotic energies, right? The chaos of darkness. And it's important to recognize that the light, even Ra, is birthed from the darkness, from moving through the darkness. So that battle that happens with darkness really becomes an integration, right? An integration and consolidation. It's allowing us to kind of filter through and leave behind, transform, I should say, because we're not really leaving anything behind. Transform as that energy creates tension, and there's like that collision, right? Because when we think about in the context of nature, of galaxies forming, it is collision that literally creates star stuff. It literally creates the iron that we have pumping in our blood, the iron that connects all of our hearts to one another came from that initial collision, right? And when we're thinking in the terms of space and time, right? Because you know, a we're in a finite body. In eternity, it is what it is. But think about how much time it takes, light years, for a galaxy to come into being, for us to have gotten to where we are now. The reason why I'm sharing that is because another really important message that's coming through with this new moon and this eclipse energy is the awareness of the lag, right, that is created between dimensions. So things begin to happen here first, like I was saying in the beginning. Things begin to happen in the mental realm, right, in the spiritual realm or the unseen realm. But the spiritual realm is the totality, all right? It's the whole thing, and it includes the body. So it's very important, especially with a lot of this like spiritual commodification and a lot of the information that's being put forward as spiritual escapes, to know that we're going to root ourselves in what spirituality or sacred science, right? Unseen science and seen science is what we mean when we say spirituality. So there's a lot of energy being put forward right now in deceiving us through so-called spirituality. So it's very, very important to remember that solely above all, embodiment becomes the key because you have to take what is in spirit and bring it into form. Everything starts in spirit and then takes form. But again, I was saying that lag, right? From the collision point into the point of creating flesh and bone and blood and body for us to be in existence took millennia. Like we can't even really perceive how much time that took in the context of space and time. So it's just very important to really wield patience, patience with the process of what you're birthing right now, because it's a gestation period and these things cannot be rushed, right? So just trust. Remember that loyalty for Geb, that's what is leading the reading. Trust, trust. And I'm going to leave it at that. I'm going to show the reading one more time. Um, and again, if you aren't familiar with Tehuti Ma'at, let me actually fix this up. If you're not familiar with Tehuti Ma'at, right? The reason why this part of the reading, like this is really the core, but this becomes the part that's like, oh, this is how it's going to happen. But again, if you do want to have that information available to you in this coming full moon, then I suggest you go to tehutimaat.org/join and consider joining the Tehuti Ma'at Militia. The Tehuti Ma'at Militia is our membership structure. Tehuti Ma'at is a cooperative and we're a revolutionary instrument. So we have a number of different programs. I suggest you go to tehutimaat.org/about to read more about Tehuti Ma'at and what we do and how you can participate or contribute if you're interested in doing so. But if you want to just be a member, you'll have access to exclusive content like this full reading and also exclusive gatherings that we're having as well. So if you have any questions, feel free to drop a comment and we will get back to you. If you want to join Tehuti Ma'at, go to tehutimaat.org/join. You can read about the different levels and tiers. We have different ranks in the militia. So if you just want to have access and just connect to certain content and things that we're going to be creating and just, you want to support what we're doing, then the Kingdom tier is our first tier. It's an infinite tier. You can donate $1 a month to how infinite amount of money. You could do $10,000 a month, however much you want to support. It all goes to funding the operations of Tehuti Ma'at. We're completely volunteer run. So everything that we've done over the last 7 years has been completely volunteer based. I've never been compensated. And the goal right now is just to focus on developing the cooperative institutions in order to fund the revolutionary work. But as a member of the militia, you will be funding the operations itself of organizing and creating the actual programming that we have. So the Intuit Healing Ciphers, the Think educational platform and program, the Sankofa program for youth. So all of the things that are actually community services is what you would be supporting the operations of. And if you are interested in getting a little more in depth and you actually want to get involved or contribute in any way, then you want to join on either the Empire level, which is $44 a month, or the Galaxy level, which is also ideal for institutions who may want to become cooperatives or want to align themselves with revolutionary work. If you're um, interested as an institution or organization in the area of healing, art, or education, then the Kingdom level is also the best level for that. I also wanted to just say that the Galaxy level is really for people who are serious and really want to be activated into their power and purpose and play the instrument of Tehuti Ma'at by aligning with this instrument to serve their purpose and what they're already doing, right? So there's also room for energy exchanges as well. There's a Ma'at section on the join page that allows you to fill in your skills or anything at all, because you can do an energy exchange as well of the same value. And there are different options in terms of what types of energy exchanges that you can do if you don't want to make a monetary or financial contribution, or you're not able to at this time. So again, thank you for joining us. Happy solar eclipse, happy new moon. And I trust that this next chapter is going to be very exciting for you. Trust yourself, align with your purpose, do what it is that you've been knowing you need to do. You have everything that you need. And if you needed one more person to tell you, I'm going to be the one to tell you. You have everything that you need to do what you need to do right now. And you already know what that is. So just do it and trust yourself. Everything's going to be okay. And all there are lessons to learn. Anything that you feel afraid of, just move with care. Move with care, but have that trust for yourself. That trust is how we're going to prove to the divinity within us that we are grateful for this opportunity that we have. And we're going to activate everything that we've been given in order to move forward and continue into this next chapter. All right. Travel light. And for more information, just visit hutimaat.org. You can also go to hightopsandheels.com, where this video will be posted, and a lot of other content that you can check out. We have a harvest playlist. We'll be having our hibernation playlist coming up. So, yeah, take care. Power.